Folks, UFC Vegas 86 is upon us, and I won't take up too much of your time here because we've got 14 fights to cover. So do me a favor, check out all the stuff in the description. It helps out the channel. I appreciate it a lot. Let's go ahead and get right into the first fight, and we'll chat some more. We've got my most confident pick of the card, and that could be a good thing, but it could be a bad thing because if you watched my video last week, you saw how bad I did. That was horrible, and you guys have been so kind and so nice. Nobody has even said anything mean about me, which at first was great, and then I realized that probably just means my channel's not big enough for anybody to be mean to me yet. So I don't know if that's really a good thing anymore. But yeah, so that sucks. But either way, we're gonna do better this week. We're gonna do great. It's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be great. And you guys, you know, maybe tell me I suck every now and then, so that way I know that I'm growing. Okay. Either way. We've got Aoriqileng taking on Daniel Marcos in the bantamweight division after that weird little rant I went on. Aoriqileng is 3-2 in his last 5 fights, 5-0 for Marcos because he's undefeated, 15-0. Some of you may disagree, but the judges didn't, so that's where we're at. Aoriqileng, good striking. Dude's got good volume, forward pressure, and decent power, but his striking defense isn't the best, and that kind of style can play right into the game of a guy like Marcos. He's got decent wrestling as well, though. Takedown defense isn't great. But the takedowns on offense, he can mix them in at the end of his strikes, and that's what you like to see. I don't think he's been able to take down Marcos. Marcos has great takedown defense. The dude's got good combinations, good head movement, good counters. He has good leg kick. He works the body very well. He's got a very tight defense. This dude should win the striking exchanges and not be able to get taken down. The one thing I don't like is that he strikes moving backwards at times, and that can cost him later in his career, not in this one. Daniel Marcos has beaten Aoriqileng, and I think that's a pretty done deal. So let me know who you have, and I will see you. Short notice one here, folks. We've got Fernie Garcia stepping in on short notice up at featherweight to take on Amil, whose opponents have been just falling out left and right. Now, for Amil, he is 5-0 in his last 5 because he's 8-0 overall. Garcia, typically the bantamweight, like I said, stepping in short notice. You got to assume the UFC took care of him to get him to take this matchup. Very short notice. I think he's like the third opponent for Amil. He's 2-3 in his last 5. He's gone 0-3 in the UFC thus far, but he has faced stellar competition. So you can't hold it entirely against him, right? So for Amil, this guy, good striker. He's got good power. He's going to come forward with a ton of pressure. He's got good combinations, and he's durable as heck. In the grappling department, he's got powerful ground and pound, and he likes to get guys down from catching their kicks. He starts quick, and he looks to go out right away and just create kind of create some madness, right? And in that madness is where he gets a lot of his wins. On the other side, you've got Fernie Garcia, who is probably one of the most durable guys down at bantamweight that's in the entire UFC. The dude is incredibly durable, tough as all get out. He's got good combinations, he's got very fast hands, and he can rip the body with the best of them. Now, for Fernie Garcia, though, his takedown defense has been very lackluster. However, it could be partially because of who he's facing. So there is that. However, the takedown defense has been his kryptonite in the UFC thus far. So you got to assume that maybe Amil sees that and says, okay, I need to start shooting some takedowns. Well, he doesn't use a ton of takedowns. However, he does have good grappling. He's, well, decent. And if he gets on top, I think Garcia's going to be in trouble. The size is going to make it so those takedowns are going to come a little bit easier because Amil, a natural 145er, against Garcia, a natural 135er. I've got to take Amil here, but I'm not mega confident in it. I think this fight probably goes late. I think Garcia's way too tough to get taken out of there. Yes, he could get subbed, I guess, but I think he's a tough guy. I don't see him putting out Amil after the fight that we saw this dude go through on the Contender Series where, yeah, he didn't look the best in the win, but he got the win against a guy that was trying relentlessly to get him to the ground. Very close fight. You got to go with Amil, so I'm going to take him. Let me know who you have, though, and I will see you guys. Next up, we've got a tough one to call, folks, at light heavyweight. Bogdan Guskov makes his second appearance in the UFC. He's coming off that loss to Volkan Oezdemir in his debut, which is a debut against a ranked opponent. That's a tough ask for anybody. You give him a little bit of a pass because of that. But Guskov, 4-1 in the last 5. He's taking on Zach Pauga, who's 3-2 in his last 5. One of those losses went up at heavyweight, so you give him a little bit of pass for losing at heavyweight, right? The other one, he might have won, but like it was such a dull fight that I wouldn't blame anybody for falling asleep and just writing a name down. So either way, Bogdan Guskov, guy's a decent striker with plenty of power. He's got a laser of a cross on him, and he's got a good head kick, but he throws a lot of single shots. He doesn't have any head movement. He's not very durable. He's very much what you would call a glass cannon. Now, on the other side, the grappling for Guskov, the other part of the fight, let's say, he's got a good body lock takedown. And he's got some very powerful ground and pound. So I do like that from him. I don't know if he's going to have any success getting the takedown against Pauga, who's a former heavyweight, but we'll find out. Dude's got decent striking, Pauga does. He's got good counters, and he puts his punches and kicks together well. He's a good wrestler, good ground and pound. That's where he lands his best shots, his most heavy. Actually, I take that back. We're going to cover that in a second. But he lands some pretty heavy shots there. He's got good cage push, and he can get good takedowns from there. He did show on the regional scene that he was able to out-wrestle guys who were wrestlers, right? But it hasn't been the case in the UFC. We haven't really seen much of that. But the clinch, this dude in the clinch drives some heavy, heavy knees. I want to pick Pauga here, but I think we're going to get another snooze fest if he wins. And I think it's going to be one of those things where, like, the judges might just favor Guskov for landing, like, 1 or 2 big shots over, like, getting pushed against the cage for the whole fight. I'll take Guskov, I guess. Zero confidence. Pass on this fight. Just kick your gosh darn feet up on the coffee table, crack open your ice cold root beer, and just watch this one. It could be exciting. It could be boring. If it's really boring, sip the root beer slow and enjoy it, right? All right, I'll see you guys in the next fight. Let me know who you have. What seems to be, at a glance, a minutes versus moments matchup where we've got Max Griffin, 3-2 in his last 5, taking on Jeremiah Wells, who's 4-1 in his last 5. Now, when I say minutes versus moments, I mean one person's going to be winning a lot more minutes of the fight. The moments are going to the other side. The bigger, more wow factor moments, those are going to the other side. For Max Griffin, the guy's a good striker. He's got power, but it's kind of knockdown power. He doesn't have that one shot, just put your lights out power. Yeah, can that happen? Sure, but most of the time it's knockdown power, which is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. So don't take that as an insult. Dude's got good jab, right? The guy's going to mix his jab out there, just keep going, and then he's going to set up that big 1-2. He's got plenty of volume, and he does all this while moving forward. Now, he's also a durable guy, which he's going to need because he's fighting Jeremiah Wells. So we'll get into that in a second, but that durability is going to come in handy for him. And I think the volume, that 1-2, that jab, just keep pumping it out there, I think that's going to pay dividends in this fight. Now, in the wrestling, he can mix in takedowns, but he's got very good takedown defense. So I think he's going to be able to decide if he wants to keep this fight on the feet, at least for most of the fight. But he's going against Jeremiah Wells, who maybe isn't as complete of a striker as Max Griffin. He doesn't have quite as many tools, but he's got a ton of power, and he counter-strikes pretty well. And when he lands, he can drop you like a sack of potatoes. Most guys are getting put out. Some guys are getting knocked down and not knowing where they're at. So for Jeremiah Wells, the power is there, and the counters are there, but the overall toolbox is more the Griffin side. So if you're starting to get a picture for what I was just talking about, the minutes versus moments, now you're starting to see it on the board. So in the grappling, Jeremiah Wells, he kind of just bullies his way through opponents. Like, he's got good takedowns and all that stuff, but a lot of it, it's kind of just like athleticism or skill, depending. He can use either. He'll use his athleticism when the skill's not working for him. He'll use his skill when he can, and maybe doesn't have the energy left to use that athleticism. So he has both options. He likes to take the back, and he's got a very good rear naked choke. Guys, this is a tough fight. Everybody's going to be picking Griffin this week as an underdog, and I don't think I'm going to. I'm going to take Wells, but it's not confident, and I don't feel good about it, and I just want to sit back, kick my feet up on the coffee table, and crack open a nice cold root beer. Stay tuned for that, because my shirts, we're going to have a root beer drinking shirt. We're going to kick our feet up on the coffee table wearing our shirt that shows us doing the same gosh darn thing. If you haven't gotten a shirt yet, you can get one similar to this one that I'm wearing here. You can get it at the website in the description. I do appreciate if you do that. It's fantastic. It helps the channel. You guys are nice. You get these really cool shirts. They are comfortable. It didn't skimp out and get some bum shirts. They're nice. So either way, new designs coming out soon. Get one of the designs with the logo. That's also cool. So I appreciate it. All right, folks, we're at light heavyweight here. We got Marcin Prachnio taking on Devin Clark. Prachnio 3-2 in the last 5, 2-3 for Devin Clark. Interesting matchup because Prachnio, dude's a solid striker. He's got good kicks, leg kick in particular. He circles off really well when he's getting his strikes going. Does a good job with that. He can fight out of either stance, and that's important in most matchups here. But the one thing I don't like about his striking, outside of his durability, that is that he has a clear reset after he throws his combinations or his strikes or whatever. Whatever, and then it's all right, clear reset. I hate that. I don't like it at all. But that's not usually what costs him. It just bothers me to watch that because you shouldn't have to reset like that at the level of striking that Prachnio has. And I think it comes back from his karate background that he has. He had a ton of karate fights. And I think in that karate background, you do a lot of that resetting. You don't just flow to your stuff, right? Because you want to get back to your stance, whatever. That's where you're used to starting everything. I don't know. That's my best guess, but he does have a very clear reset. His durability can be questionable. His takedown defense is atrocious. On the other side, Devin Clark, dude's a good wrestler. right there. That's what you want to see right here. That's what you want to see to pick the Devin Clark side, right? But don't get too excited. He's very inconsistent. So we're gonna get through this and we're gonna talk it out. He's got good control and good ground and pound in most fights. He's got decent striking, plenty of power, a good 1-2, and a good leg kick. Problem is, his volume can be lackluster and his striking defense isn't the best. Well, there we go. See? Good wrestling, takedown defense, bad striking defense, solid striking. So that's where you see that come through. Yes, Devin Clark's inconsistent, but I do think Devin Clark is the rightful side in this matchup. So I've got to take Devin Clark. It's a low confidence pick because, guys, we've seen it before where Devin Clark's been supposed to win the fight and then he doesn't. But we've also seen it before where Devin Clark's supposed to lose the fight and Devin Clark wins it. It's hard to say. I'm going to take Devin Clark, though. Let me know who you have, and I will see you guys. A couple of Thai strikers next in the women's strawweight division. Brasil takes on Loma Lookboonmee. For Lookboonmee and Brasil, both, they're 4-1 in their last 5. The height and reach, though, is the biggest discrepancy. Brasil's 5'6" with a 65.5-inch reach, 5'1" with a 61.5-inch reach for Lookboonmee. Now, Brasil, being much taller and longer, she's going to be able to strike and land way before Lookboonmee can get across that range, right? So closing the distance for Loma is going to be a very big challenge. Brasil, even if she isn't necessarily the more accomplished Thai striker, she's going to be able to land her stuff first, and that is going to make a big difference. So keep that in mind when we look at this fight. For Brasil, good striking. She works the body very well, whether that be with her punches or her kicks. She does a good job with it. Her knees as well. She's got good kicks to all levels, especially in a matchup where the opponent's 5'1". Those head kicks come easy. Now, she's got good knees up the middle and good kicks up the middle as well. And those kicks up the middle can be a big problem for Lookboonmee. If she snaps that front kick out there right into the face of Lookboonmee, boom, that's it. That's over. She's going to probably drop her down. She's going to knock her on her butt and go in and finish the fight right there. Or maybe it's just a one-shot knockout and that's over. Because that kick right up the middle, hitting the jaw, it's going to put you down no matter who you are. And she does that very well. But she does get backed up, and she has that lean back defense because she is tall and taller than a lot of her opponents. That can be a problem because Lookboonmee is going to be looking to go forward. Now, when it comes to the clinch, Brasil, she's got good trips. She's got good knees in the clinch. But I think the clinch game, the skill is going to be on the Lookboonmee side. So this is where we go. Is it physicality or skills? In the striking, for Lookboonmee, she's got good body kicks. She has either that switch roundhouse kick that she slams in there or the front kick. Both of them are very good. She's got the ability to strike her way into the clinch, and I think that's where she needs to be in this fight because that's going to take away the long range that you see from Brasil. So she's going to want to strike her way to the clinch, and she's probably the better clinch fighter here. The height is still going to be another advantage for Brasil because, you sneak that knee up there and crack your opponent in the face when you got a pretty good height advantage on him. So either way, she's got excellent knees, and she's got brutal elbows, and she's got good trips as well. Now, in the grappling department, this is something we saw in Loma's recent matchup where she's got good top pressure, she's got good takedown defense, and she actually was able to get a submission recently. But she's very weak off of her back. So if she ends up on the bottom, I think Brasil is going to be able to keep her down there. Basically, whoever ends up on the bottom in this matchup is going to be in trouble. This is a tough one to pick. And if these stats were equal, it wouldn't be as tough because I'd be picking Loma all day. I'm still going to take Loma. Don't feel good about it. I feel like this is a big problem, and I could see Brasil being able to stay outside and land shots and hit Loma on the way in. But I also can see Loma closing that distance at some point, getting her in the clinch and just pushing her up against the cage and just driving elbows and knees and just being the better clinch fighter. So I can see it going either way. So I'm going to side with the skill here on the Lookboonmee side. But let me know who you have. I'd love to hear from you guys. Here we are at lightweight. We have Damir Hadzovic coming back after quite the layoff. He's taking on Balaji Oki, who's coming off the Contender Series. For Oki, he's 5-0 in his last 5 fights, 2-3 for Hadzovic. Hadzovic, 37 years old, though, and that's also kind of added into the mixes. He doesn't really compete very often. His last fight was, I believe, 2022, in July of 22. Here we are in 2024. Before that, it was 2021. So not a ton of fights. Haven't seen much of him. I'm pretty sure he hasn't fought since I've had this YouTube channel. So for Hadzovic, it's been a while, right? Oki, like I said, 28 to 37 in the age. That's kind of a big gap that usually doesn't go well for the older fighter. Hadzovic, I didn't have a ton of notes to put up here because I don't know how much of this is accurate anymore. You know what I mean? So I just got to go off of what I think is probably still relevant, but it's tough because most of his fights are, a long time ago. He's got good power. And also, his last fight, we don't have much to go off of other than the lack of takedown defense because he just spent the whole time on the mat being held down and by Mark DeCasey, who's typically a striker. Yeah, there's not much to say about Hadzovic, all right, in recent memory. But anyway, it's a good striker, good power, and my favorite thing that he does is this kick it's kind of like a front kick but a roundhouse kick at the same time, where it comes up kind of at like a weird angle like this rather than forward or around, and he throws it like it's a front kick with the ball of his foot jamming into his opponent. So it's kind of like a weird hybrid kick. I do like it. I think it's good. I think in this matchup he can land it. It's a good move for him. He's got decent grappling if he's on top with the ground and pound, but his takedown defense is just not there. It's not good. He has pretty bad takedown defense, and that's a problem for him. He's going against Oki, who looked great on the Contender Series. We picked him. Congrats. Yep. Don't worry. You know what? I'm going to link a couple of the Contender Series fighters that are fighting on this. I'm going to link a couple of those at the end screen of this video, so be ready for that. Oki will be one of them, especially because we picked him. Either way, dude's got good forward pressure, pretty good head movement. He's going to work his jab, and he's going to counter pretty well. Sometimes he can get backed up when he's trying to counter, and that's not something you want to see, but I didn't want to fill up the board with a bunch of stuff, so we're just going to keep it simple here. All of the notes will be on Patreon, patreon.com/138MMA. If you don't know about it, there you go. It's in the description. Check out the stuff in the description. Dude's got good wrestling as well. It's typically his second option in a fight, but when he does go for the grappling, he's got a good double leg, and he's got excellent takedown defense as well. So for me, I think this is a clear pick. You got to take Oki, the younger guy, the guy that probably should get the win just based off of, inactivity, age, physicality, and probably just going to be quicker. It's probably just pretty much everything should point to Oki other than maybe experience. Experience, obviously, on the Hadzovic side. But let me know where you're at. Let me know who you've got in this one. And we've got Trevin Giles takes on Carlos Prates in the welterweight division. Now, for Prates, he's making his UFC debut, but he is 5-0 in the last 5. He's one of those Contender Series alums stepping in here, coming to make that debut in the Apex, a place he's very comfortable with. Now, Trevin Giles, 2-3 in the last 5. The guy's fought a pretty tough level of competition, though, so you got to take it for what it is. For Prates, dude's a good striker with plenty of power. He's got good, long, straight punches, but his hands are kind of low. That I don't so much like, but it kind of helps with the takedown defense, which he does have pretty good. Now, he's got kicks they're probably some of the nastiest, most powerful kicks we've seen on the Contender Series, and he's bringing those to the UFC. He can kick to all levels. My favorite of which is that front kick that he has to the body. I absolutely love it. I think that's one of his best weapons. And if he uses it here, I think that's going to be a good thing for him. So on the other side, Giles. Dude's a very good striker. Typically, he's going to use that just kind of a boxing style. He's going to stick the jab. He's going to look for his counters. But he can be kind of low volume because he will be looking for that counter. All the while, he's got good footwork, moves around the cage well. He's got pretty good grappling, pretty good wrestling, decent takedowns, good takedown defense. And if he gets on top, he's got good control. If he's able to mix in the takedowns and get Prates to the mat, I can see a world where Giles is able to win this fight on the scorecards, but I don't so much think that he's going to be able to hold him down for the whole fight if he does get him down. And I've got to take Prates here as being the more damaging striker, the more powerful striker. But it's another one where it's like, yeah, it's a Contender Series debut guy. Do I feel really good about it? Giles has turned away some better fighters in the past. I'm going to go with Prates, but low confidence pick. Let me know who you have, and I'll see you. Look at this. We've got another handsome man in this video. It's Andy. He comes to my gym. He bought a shirt. He shows up to my gym wearing the shirt. And yes, you can even get it in pink, which Andy, of course, did. Look at that. How fantastic. This dude can even pull it off. He's a mountain of a man, and he's a freaking nice human being. He bought the shirt, and I'm impressed that he even wears that thing out in public with such an ugly face on it. But he did. He wore it in public to come to my gym. So, Andy, thank you so much. If the comments section would be so kind as to show some love to Andy, and then maybe even do yourself a favor, get yourself one of the shirts, links in the description of the video, and you could be featured in this video. Send it to me on Twitter, Instagram, whatever. Send it to me somewhere, and put you in the video. So, hopefully I'll be seeing you guys on this video. Here we are with a rebooked matchup in the middleweight division. Armin Petrosyan takes on Rodolfo Vieira. So for Rodolfo Vieira, he's 3-2 in his last 5 fights, 4-1 for Petrosyan. Interesting because both of these guys, it's basically the polar opposite style. Petrosyan, dude's a high-level kickboxer. He's got fantastic kicks, very accurate with them. He can hit them at all levels, all that good stuff. good combinations, very good movement on the feet as well. And he keeps his hands down low to help with the takedown defense and also to strike at weird angles. But good thing for him, he's durable. So if he does get hit in the face while he's trying to work with those hands down low, it doesn't usually come back to bite him too bad. However, it hasn't seemed to help his takedown defense that much because his takedown defense isn't that good. He does work back to his feet. I know a lot of people are immediately saying that, but he's going up against somebody in the grappling department who is extremely high level. Very high level Rodolfo Vieira here. He's got a massive toolbox. He's got decent takedowns. They're not the best, but if he does get the fight to the mat, it's staying there. And he will use his ground and pound to open up his submission attempts. He also likes to take the back. Once he gets on your back, you're in trouble because the guy is a rear naked choke specialist. He's not completely lost on the feet. He's got a decent jab, and he's very durable. So if he does get stuck on the feet for a little while, I don't think it's going to be too big of an issue. However, if he gets stuck on the feet for many, many minutes at a time, a whole round even, that could be a big issue. But if he's, every round starts on the feet, if he comes out, has to strike a little bit, he'll probably be all right. If Petrosyan can keep this on the feet for an entire round, the first round particularly, it's going to look really bad for Vieira. For me, though, I do think Vieira gets to takedown. And I do think he can get to the back. Now, I think he can control that back for at least 2 rounds or even get the submission because I do think this guy is so lights out on the ground against a guy that is primarily a kickboxer. I've got to side with Vieira. That's who I picked in the last matchup too. But this is a tough one, and I could easily see it going either way. Typically, I like to side with the grapplers over the strikers because they usually control the fight as long as they have good takedowns. If they're a grappler that doesn't have good takedowns, that does not count. Vieira's takedowns are good enough to get a guy like Petrosyan down who doesn't have a good takedown defense. So I've got to go Vieira. Let me know where you're at on this one. I know this one's probably going to be pretty divisive in the community, so I would love to hear from you. Let me know in the comments. We'll get a matchup at lightweight next, and if you haven't done it, please do me this one thing and just like this video. I appreciate it a ton. If we get 100 likes on the video, it makes me feel better, helps me sleep at night, and, just one more thing I can wake up to and say, you know what, maybe it's not so bad. You had a bad week last week, but you got some likes on your video. So please do that for me. I appreciate it. Darius Flowers takes on Michael Johnson. Flowers 4-1 in his last 5, 2-3 for Johnson. But the level of competition is massively different. Flowers making his second fight in the UFC here. Yes, he had a short notice matchup in his last one. Didn't go his way against Jake Matthews. But before that, he was on the regional scene. Did swell in his Contender Series matchup. Looked good. Johnson, been fighting in the UFC forever, for ages, for pretty much forever. I mean, I don't really remember a ton of UFC without Michael Johnson. So either way, Darius Flowers, dude's a decent striker with a ton of power, and he just kind of comes forward and launches bombs at you, and if he hits you, he's probably going to knock you out. He's got good wrestling as well, very powerful takedowns, and he's got very, very good ground and pound. I've seen this guy, in fact, short story, I've seen Darius Flowers fight clear back way before the UFC on the regional scene in my hometown at a local show. Dynasty Combat Sports, there is a promotion here in Omaha, where I'm from, that Flowers was a regular at. So for Flowers, I'm very familiar with him pre-UFC. I've seen some highs, seen some lows. He was a much bigger fighter then. He wasn't at 155, he was 185. But either way, his style has remained the same. Start fast, burn out if you don't get it done. That is the style he has, and he does a good job with it, right? He does a good job with the wrestling, with the power. I think Flowers is a good UFC talent. He's going against Michael Johnson. Now, Michael Johnson, at the end of his career, so he's not quite where he was at one point. Michael Johnson is a gosh darn good fighter overall. In skill for skill, if we're just talking skills, we're not taking into account the age, we're not taking into account any decline he may be on. Michael Johnson is going to be better than Flowers, and it's not like a knock on Flowers. It's just that Michael Johnson is a gosh darn good fighter who's fought some of the best in the world to ever do the darn thing. But at this point in his career, he's a good striker with pretty good volume, pretty good power, and he's got good countering ability. He's got decent wrestling as well. His submission defense isn't that good, but he's got good takedown defense to stop fights from getting to the mat. Now, here's the thing, and here's how you play it. For the sake of a pick, I'm going to pick Michael Johnson, and I don't feel good about it, and I'm only going to pick Michael Johnson because I feel like here's how you play this fight. And for the fighter I'm taking money line, I feel like you got to take. Now, Johnson's probably going to end up as an underdog, but for me, I got him earlier, played his money line, right? That's what I did at like minus 120. Darius Flowers inside the distance because I don't see him winning a decision against Michael Johnson. Yes, could he? But I just don't think Johnson's got the durability to last that long. It's not that I don't think Flowers could win a decision. It's that I don't think Johnson can last that long taking shots from Darius Flowers unless Flowers is trying not to finish him. So I think if this fight goes to decision, it's got to be a Michael Johnson win. Could Johnson win by knockout or submission? Yeah, absolutely. He's a very talented fighter. Flowers, if he connects flush, is knocking out Johnson. We also know Johnson doesn't have the best sub defense. Could Flowers submit Johnson? Yes, he could. So you play Darius Flowers inside the distance at plus money, and then you got yourself where you can play both sides and feel good about it, and you got free money. The only way you lose is if Flowers somehow wins a decision, and I don't think that's happening. Not, like I said, not because I don't think Flowers could win a decision. It's because I don't think Johnson can make a decision while also losing to a guy like Flowers who is as deadly as he is. So for me, I'll pick Michael Johnson because I'm taking a money line. But Flowers inside the distance is a real play that I will be playing. So let me know what you have. Let me know if you think that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, let me know in the comments so I can spell it out for you. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you middleweight. Brad Tavares takes on Gregory Rodrigues. Both of these guys are 3-2 in their last 5 matchups. And for Gregory Rodrigues, this dude is a good striker. He's got plenty of power. He's got good combinations, but he does lack in the striking defense. Here's the deal with it, though. It wasn't a problem for him up until fairly recently when we saw that defense start to be resulting in knockouts. Because before that, you would have to put this guy completely out because he just keeps coming at you. The guy's going to keep coming forward. He's not going to give up. He's not just going to like, oh, man, I'm getting hit. I need to just roll over and give up in this fight. No, he's going to keep coming at you. But if you put his lights out, there's nothing you can do about it. It's over. The ref steps in. So that has been a problem recently where, maybe the durability is starting to fade because he just takes too many shots on the chin. But he's got solid grappling as a backup plan because, yes, it is his backup plan. Yes, it is his better skill set, but it is his backup plan. He likes to strike first. Grappling is an option for him. He's got good top pressure and slick transitions. Yes, he can fish for subs, all that good stuff. But I do think this fight's going to be predominantly on the feet, even though I do think that mixing in the wrestling attempts is going to be a good thing for Rodrigues. Now, for Tavares, dude's a good striker as well. He's got good, clean combinations, and he's a very durable fighter. We don't see this guy get finished by just anybody. In fact, he's a very hard guy to get out of there. In the grappling, he's an excellent counter wrestler with excellent takedown defense. Getting this guy to the mat is going to be very tough, and I don't actually see Rodrigues able to do that consistently, maybe even at all. But just mixing in the attempts is something that he's going to need to do. But it's probably going to get stuffed by Tavares, who is fantastic at stopping the wrestling. The biggest knock on Tavares, not so much the striking defense like it is Rodrigues, it's in fact the lack of killer instinct. When he hits guys, he hurts them. He often lets them off the hook. He doesn't follow up. He doesn't go in for the kill. And maybe it's a way to manage his pace. So maybe he's looking for something like that. But you need to be able to go in for the kill against a guy like Gregory Rodrigues to get him out of there. And I don't see him doing that. So I've got to side with Gregory Rodrigues in a matchup where I don't think that this striking defense is going to end the night for him. And I think he's going to be able to come forward with his powerful combinations and have the bigger shots land if both guys are landing. So I'm taking Gregory Rodrigues. Should be a fun fight. This one has all the makings to be fight of the night. But let me know where you're looking at. Let me know what side you're on, and I'll see you guys. Fast starters up in this middleweight matchup, and it is a short notice matchup. And yes, you did read that right. 185 pounds for Ihor Potieria. He's stepping in, short notice, take on Robert Bryczek, the newcomer to the UFC, who's 5-0 in his last 5 fights. String of early knockouts in these fights. He's taking on Potieria, who hasn't had the best UFC run, getting 1 win in the UFC. He's 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Hasn't looked the best. But in his last fight, even in a loss, he did look pretty good. There are referees out there who would have stopped that fight, giving Potieria the win. Didn't fall his way. The referee did not stop the fight, and he ends up losing soon after. Okay, so it looked good in a loss. But for Bryczek, the guy comes in, solid striker, pretty much a boxer, right? That's what his style is. He's got good combinations. He's going to rip the body. He's got a ton of power, and he's got good head movement as well. But it's boxing-style head movement, so you got to be careful against kickers. But either way, that's what he's going to do. On the other side, Potieria, very powerful striker. He's going to come forward, and he's going to strike in bursts. Kind of like just, I wouldn't even call it a combination because it's not even necessarily combinations, but he'll strike in bursts. And, it works out well for him if he's able to land early in this burst and then, follow it up with a couple, 2-3 more strikes. But what happens a lot of times is he goes for this burst, opponent, shells up, blocks them all, and then they get a reset. That's what happens a lot of the time. Doesn't always happen that way, and we've seen him get the win via knockout because of those bursts. His striking defense is pretty lackluster, and his ability to defend leg kicks is pretty much non-existent. His cardio also fades pretty quick, and that's not something you want to see. Somebody's probably getting slept in this matchup, right? Probably in the first round, maybe the early second. But you got to imagine a couple of strikers like this, somebody's getting put out. Now, I'm going to side with Bryczek, not with any confidence. The guy's making his UFC debut. He has, yes, looked really good in his last 5 fights, but he hasn't always looked the best in his matchups. There's a few matchups you can find out there when you do the tape where he didn't look like the guy that's knocking guys dead in the first round. So has he fixed that problem? Sure, maybe. Maybe the competition is just a little bit different. Matchups, they change things. So it's not a big confidence pick here, but I do feel like he should get the win. So I'm going to take Bryczek. I'm more confident that somebody gets knocked out in this matchup. But let me know what you guys think. Put it in the comments. It is co-main event of the evening. Dan Ige takes on Andre Fili. This is an interesting one because both of these guys, we know them as like just outside the top kind of guys. But they both only have 2 wins in their last 5 fights. 2-2 and a no contest for Fili, 2-3 for Dan Ige. And that's something to be said for the level of competition. Both these guys have fought very high level of competition. Fili has had some inconsistent performances in the past, but it seems like he's kind of righting that ship. He's looked good, even in losses in his last few fights. So Andre Fili seems to have got things back on track in the right way. For Dan Ige, a lot of it was just competition level, right? The guy's been fighting some of the best guys in the division. Struggles with those really heavy grapplers, but, doing things right as well. He got a couple of wins in the last 5. He had some good performances as well. For Fili, he steps in on short notice here. Not mega short notice, but short notice nonetheless. He's a good striker. He uses his length very well, and he can kind of pressure guys while keeping them still at that long range. And he's going to be the taller, longer fighter here, and that's going to come into play for him. And I do think that's going to be a big thing for Andre Fili. He's got very effective kicks. I like the way that he uses his kicks in order to set up the hands, and that's something that not a lot of fighters do. They either are kicking or punching. He's going to use those kicks to set up the hands, and I do like that from Fili. He is very hittable, though, if you get inside of that long range. If you can get inside the pocket and start ripping shots on him, he's going to be hittable from there, and that's where a lot of guys have had success in the striking. Guys like Nathaniel Wood, for example, similar build to Dan Ige, was able to get inside and land some shots in close. That's where you need to get in that range, and that's where the striking defense disappears for Fili, because most of his defense is just being the longer guy and keeping it outside of range. In the grappling department, Fili's got very opportunistic takedowns. If you give him the shot, you overcommit on something, whatever, that's when he can get those takedowns. He's got good scrambles when the fight does hit the mat, and he uses his length very well to wrap up opponents, whether it be on top or from the bottom. His takedown defense isn't the best, but I don't think that's going to be a problem here. He's fighting Dan Ige, who clearly just wants to keep this on the feet. I think I stuttered there for a second. He keeps this on the feet as much as he can. The dude has good power, knockdown power, not as much as just one-shot knockout power, but he's got knockdown power, and he does a good job with it. Yes, he can put your lights out, but a lot of times he's putting you down and then following up. He's got good body punches. In fact, if he can get inside the range of Fili, those body punches are going to be one of his better weapons in this matchup. He's got a decent leg kick as well. That could be a problem for him, actually, because I can see him going for the leg kick getting cracked by the taller, longer guy, so maybe that's not such a good move for him. Decent grappling. He's active from his back, and he's got pretty good jiu-jitsu, right? But he can get stuck on his back sometimes, and I think if Fili wants to win this, mixing in those takedowns is going to be one of his best weapons in this one. It's a tough fight, guys. Last week, I made the mistake of, in a close matchup, picking the guy that I wanted to win and riding with that, and it bit me in the butt. So I want Andre Fili to win this fight. I like Andre Fili. I'm a big fan of Andre Fili. He's fun to watch. He's a fun guy. I like hearing his, interviews and stuff, and I just like Andre Fili. So I'm going to pick Dan Ige. And if I get it wrong and Andre Fili wins, I'll be happy for Andre Fili and I'll be thrilled. But I do think if this stays on the feet, Ige is going to be able to get inside the pocket and he's going to land his shots. It's a close fight, but I'll take Dan Ige for this one. But let me know who you have. I'm back and forth on it. I could be swayed. This is one I could be swayed because I want to be swayed. You know what I mean? So let me know, especially if you're on the Fili side, in the comments below. And if I ever do change my pick, you guys will know about it. I'll see you guys in the main event. It's coming up next. Folks, here we are in the main event of the evening. And really quick, guys, here's the deal. So I work long hours, right? I work like 12 and a half hour day today. tomorrow's a 12-hour day. Wednesday's a 12.5-hour day. Thursday's a 12-hour day. You get the point. I'm working long hours. I work in the gym. I'm holding pads for people all day, every day. So I get a little tired, right? That's how I get those forearms, right? You know what I mean? That's how I get those Popeye forearms. It's not spinach. It's just friggin' holding mitts all gosh darn day. But I'm tired. I got to wake up in like 5 hours and be ready to go to work again for another 12-hour day. But here I am. I'm rocking it. I'm still here doing the video for you guys. But if you could just like the video, it goes a long way. I don't mean to get the sympathy likes, but if it works for getting me the likes, guys, I love my job. It's a fun job, but it's exhausting. And here I am recording this video, upbeat as all get out, because I know you guys want that, and I know that that's what I'm here to bring you. And I'm going to give you a gosh darn fun breakdown of this matchup. But like this video, it does mean the world to me, and it does help the channel a lot. And if I can't get this thing growing a little bit, you know what I mean? Maybe it'd help if I stop screwing up and having bad weeks. But I think we're going to get this one. I think this is going to be a good week, and we're going to do freaking fantastic. So, guys, we're going to break this one down. Joe Pyfer, big step up in competition here against a guy in Jack Hermansson, who's been at the top of the division for a while now in that top 10. I think he's ranked, what, number 9 right now, give or take? But either way, good matchup. He has 2-3 in his last 5 as Hermansson at ranked at number 9. That's kind of weird. But when you look at who he's lost to, it makes a little bit more sense, and that's why he is still in the top 10 with 2-3 in his last 5. Now for Pyfer, 5-0 in the last 5 fights. That's pretty impressive as well. The guy's done a lot for himself since that first appearance on the Contender Series where the arm incident happened and he lost to Dustin Solsfus. Rough time for him. Had a bad matchup. You know, everybody says like, oh yeah, it was just a freak accident. Like, he still got thrown down. So like, he did get taken down in that matchup and did land on his arm wrong. And I understand that injuries happen and maybe he would have come back and won the fight, sure. But he still did get thrown down. And that does tell me that a guy like Hermansson has a shot to do the same. So let's get into this fight. Okay, Joe Pyfer. Dude's a good striker. He's a very good striker with a lot of forward pressure and a lot of power. This guy hits like a truck. I know we've all heard it that he beat the punching power record of Francis Ngannou. And if that's absolutely true, that is fantastic because, I mean, Francis Ngannou is a heavyweight. This dude's a middleweight. So that's impressive. He does work really well in the pocket. He gets in tight and starts landing good combinations, good body shots, whatever. He does work that body very well with the power, the same power he lands when he hits you on the chin. So Pyfer, heck of a powerful striker. I like that about him. Grappling. He showed this off in, I believe it was his last fight. Dude's got good, powerful takedowns. He's used that grappling, top pressure, all that stuff. Does a good job with it. He's got a very tight squeeze when he gets on top of you and starts working for submissions. And he's also got good ground and pound. I think this dude is just strong as an ox. Like, you know, some people are just built like that, where they're just stronger than they should be for their frame. And I think Joe Pyfer, for a guy at 185 pounds, is just stronger than most 185ers. And that's not like a cop-out answer for, oh, yeah, well, that's, you know, this, that, and the other. It's just what it is. And I think that Joe Pyfer hits really hard because he's so strong and powerful. It's just a thing that he naturally has, and that helps him in his grappling as well. So for Pyfer, the physical advantages, they're there, and he uses them well. For Hermansson, the dude is a decent striker. He's not a great striker, but he's a decent striker. He's got a good jab. He's got a good leg kick. And he's got good movement on the feet. And if he stays outside of range and just jab and move, jab and move, jab and leg kick, as Adesanya used to do for his, a lot of his title fights to keep that belt for a while, the jab leg kick, you know, we used to talk about that. Oh, Adesanya by jab leg kick. Well, Hermansson does the same thing in the same weight class, just a little bit different. He's got that more herky-jerky style where he's just kind of like moving all like weird like that. I tried to imitate it, but I can't do it. I'm not Jack Hermansson. If I was, I'd be in the UFC, and I'd be freaking excited. But either way, he's got a good style of movement, stays outside. If he does stay at range and land the jabs, I do think that is going to be his best path to victory. He's got to do that for 5 rounds, and that's not going to work out well for him. On the ground, though, this actually might even be a better path to victory for him because he's a solid grappler with absolutely excellent ground and pound. He's super accurate with it, and his submission game is nasty. That guillotine is quick, it's tight. He's got all sorts of other, different options in the toolbox. Hermansson's a great grappler. But the problem is, I think on the mat, he's going to get out-muscled by a guy like Pyfer. And I don't think Pyfer's skill is bad on the mat by any means. I think he's a good grappler as well. I think Hermansson probably has a little bit more in the toolbox. And it's kind of one of those things where, like, Hermansson's been around a while. He's been here longer. And he's got that Greco-Roman kind of style of wrestling. But I think Pyfer's going to have more opportunities to get the finish. If this does end up on the mat, though, and we're getting later in the fight, Hermansson's just been grinding on him and working on him. Yeah, he's got a shot. Not that I'm saying that Pyfer's got bad cardio or anything. I just think the veteran savvy has more chances to kick in throughout the fight if this fight drags longer. I'm going to take Joe Pyfer, though, and I think it's because I think on the feet he's going to have the advantage. And I don't think that the takedowns are going to come as easy from Hermansson as he wants them or he needs them to be, for example. It's not going to come like it did with the Stoltzfus takedown, where he just gets in and gets the throw to the mat, pops the arm out. But even if he doesn't pop the arm out, if Hermansson gets on top of you on the ground, you're in trouble. I don't think that's coming, and if it does come, I don't think there's going to be enough time for Hermansson to get his stuff done. I think it's going to be one of those things where he's going to have to work for it throughout the round. Maybe he gets it early, maybe he doesn't. I think it's late. I think it's going to come late. Joe Pyfer's probably going to be the type of guy that make him really have to work for those takedowns early in the fight, and he's going to make him pay for it with the power. So I'm going to lean the Joe Pyfer side. Will I be surprised if Hermansson wins? No. I don't think that betting his side in this matchup is the way that I want to play it. I'd probably just kick my feet up on the coffee table, crack open another ice cold root beer. We're 6-7 root beers deep at this point, guys. We're getting excited. We're having a good time. If you're drinking full sugar root beer, you probably got a sugar rush by now. But we're just going to toss them back and have a good time and watch the fights. I'm going to take Joe Pyfer. Close fight. I don't want anything on it. But let me know who you have. Do you have a side that you like in this one? And if so, why? Let me know down in the comments below. I appreciate you all tuning in. And if this is your first time on the channel, I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you stick around and, subscribe or whatever if you want. I keep forgetting to ask people to do that. I'll see you guys next week. Have some fun.